And we are live.
Hey guys, thanks for joining today. Of course, my co-host Brian the Beast Robinson, and we got an amazing guest today, Simon Rhee, martial arts master, actor, stunt coordinator, fight coordinator, works on huge Hollywood films. Of course, I know him from Best of the Best. I know a lot of you guys in the audience do as well. Played Daehan, amazing villain. But there's so much to talk about. Thanks so much for joining, Simon.
Good morning. Good to see you guys.
Thanks. Hey, just to start off, because we do want to get your martial arts background and history before the movie started. One guy in the chat was asking, is this the great Jun Rhee's son?
No, I am not.
Okay.
Because we have same last name. A lot of people thought that he was my father, but he is not my father. My father's name is Min Hee Rhee, and he just passed away last year. But I did meet Grandmaster Jun Rhee, and he treated me like I was his son. And he's the one who brought Taekwondo to the United States. And he's a great master. I took some seminars from him, and he taught me many, many good stuff.
Okay. Sorry to hear about your father last year, by the way, Simon.
That's okay.
When did you start your martial arts training, by the way?
I think I was like 9 years old. When I was 8, I caught a viral meningitis in Korea. And the doctor said if I came to the hospital a couple of hours late, I could have been either vegetable or I could have lost my life.
Oh, wow.
So soon as when I got to the hospital, they admitted me right away. And I stayed in the hospital for 2 months.
Wow.
And once I got out, my dad said, I need to get you back to be strong again. And he enrolled me into Taekwondo, me and my brother. And my father is one of those old-fashioned father that, I had to make a deal with him. If he enrolled me and my brother into Taekwondo, we had to go every day except Sunday. And the days that we didn't want to go, our deal was we had to get spanking. So, we didn't want to get spanking as a little kid, so we went every day. And what you don't know at that time is that when you go every day, you're going to get good.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how I became, really good in Taekwondo, thanks to my dad.
Did you and your brother, I guess he's not here to answer, but did you enjoy it like right when you started, or did you fall in love with it, down the line later when you got really good?
Of course, I did not enjoy it when I was like 9 or 10 years old. You want to play with your friends.
Sure.
But I had to go every day. And then when I was 12, we moved to San Francisco. And my father opened up a Taekwondo studio, and I started taking there and teaching there. And another thing that I didn't realize is I lived on 12th and Moraga, which is like very, very steep hills in San Francisco. And I had a paper route every morning from 4:30 to 6 o'clock in the morning.
Good work.
And I had to carry 80 newspapers up and down the hills every day. And what I didn't realize is that's what made my legs so much stronger.
What year was this? What year?
71, 72. Yeah.
How old were you?
I've got to be 13, 14 by that time.
You look amazing. Holy cow,
66.
you look really young. Holy crap. I'm thinking you're the same age as me.
How old are you, Brian?
I'm 52.
Yeah, I'm 66.
God, you look great. Can you still kick and do all the stuff and everything?
Well, after 2 hip replacement surgery, my kicks are a waist level now.
Yeah, you're like me. I blow my back out the minute they get above my head. For the reality.
Yeah, I'm amazed that it seems like martial arts age very well, because I train with Don Wilson right now. He's 69. I can't believe how good he moves. I trained with Billy Blanks yesterday. He's 68. It's like these guys, defy age, and of course you don't look 66, Simon. No, it's really cool. And I'm sure, like, even though you have those hip surgeries and don't really kick above waist, your kicks are probably still absolutely ridiculous, you know?
So, David, where are you training with Don? I want to come and see you one day.
Oh, come today or tomorrow. I'm at Phil Polina's gym in Woodland Hills.
Okay, I know. I used to teach in Woodland Hills.
Okay. Well, I'll send you the address later. We got to connect because I'm leaving Wednesday because I got that fight on Saturday. So I'd love to see you before I leave.
Okay, I like that idea.
That'd be great, man. This is awesome. Okay, back where were we? We were talking about oh yeah, so your legs got extra strong, you know, riding your bike up all these hills in San Francisco.
Walking. No bike,
Okay.
walking.
Oh, walking up all the hills in San Francisco. Wow. So are you older or younger than your brother Philip?
I'm 3 years older.
You're 3 years older. So, and you guys started Taekwondo at the same age. Because you started when you were older, like, were you guys about the same level, or were one of you guys progressing quicker than the other one? Because you're both amazing martial artists.
Well, I mean, we're both same level. It's just since I'm older, my father made me like test one grade higher. So like I'm
Okay.
seventh degree black belt in the World Taekwondo Federation, and I believe my brother is a sixth degree black belt in World Taekwondo Federation.
Okay. And so you said your dad, though, opened a Taekwondo school in San Francisco, right?
Hmm.
Is he a Taekwondo guy himself, or is he just the businessman?
I mean, he was a Taekwondo man himself. He was a black belt, and yeah, he did not. He wasn't a business person. He was more of a patriot Korean politician. And like my 12th great grandfather, David, is Admiral Yi Sun Shin. I don't know if you know who that is. Brian might know who that is. The Admiral Yi Sun Shin is the person who invented the turtle ship.
Oh, the turtle ship, way back.
Yes.
That's way back.
Exactly.
I mean, what 1600s?
Exactly.
I have one
Really?
around here somewhere. I get the little. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah. So that's why my parents took me back to Korea, because my 12th great grandfather, like everybody in Korea learned about him in history.
Wow.
And he's the first one. This turtle ship is kind of like a first world semi-submarine.
Submarine, yeah.
Yeah. And fought against a lot of Japanese Navy and destroyed a lot of Japanese ships. So my 12th great grandfather became a hero in our country. And my father wanted me to know that. So that's why, we went back to Korea to learn.
And just so everybody knows, it looks like the old Civil War ironclads, except it was made of wood, and most of the ship was underwater. So it was very difficult to hit the thing.
Good. You know your stuff, Brian. Cool.
Yeah,
This guy's smart, man. He's got a lot of cool knowledge in his head. Yeah, that's interesting. So how often do you go back to Korea, by the way?
Maybe every 4 or 5 years. I'm
Okay.
going back this coming June with my family.
Where in
Seoul.
Korea?
We're gonna go to Seoul.
Now, David, we might have to meet him there. I told you I want to go back in the worst way, and he's got to have his first visit to Korea.
I do. One question I want to ask you, Simon, and I don't know how involved you are or pay attention to the politics in Korea. Do you think like that country will ever unify? Because North and South have been at pause, but still technically at war since forever.
Right. I don't think they will ever be unified, because if South Korea has to absorb all the North Koreans' inequity, I think the South Koreans will suffer. And the way South Koreans work is like so crazy. I wouldn't want to live in South Korea and try to get a job there. It's crazy to like work in South Korea, because you got to work so hard. 12, 14 hours is norm. And then you got to go out drinking with people.
Told you.
Yeah,
network.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, and yeah, I don't think it will work.
So I have a little bit different opinion. and this is probably just because I'm very biased about Koreans. My opinion is, having worked, I trained the Korean Army for a year, and
Mhm.
I think that their work ethics, their culture, I think you guys will resync, and I think it will be a surprise how rapidly they will integrate. But your mindsets are all still the same, I believe, in that that hard work ethic, the discipline would cause a rapid absorption and an explosion in the North Korean would explode industrial wise. I think it would outshadow Germany's reunification, which took a
Wow.
long time. I think it would be rapid, but I'm biased. So
No, I like your idea too. I wish it would work out like that, you know.
Hmm.
But I have my doubts with the leaders in North Korea.
Okay.
well, they would have to be gone. That would have to be gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
It's not going to happen until they're gone.
Oh, by the way, I wouldn't even exist if it weren't for that conflict, because my dad was stationed in Korea, in the DMZ, and while he was stationed over there, he met my mom back in the day. So if that wasn't going on, I wouldn't even technically exist.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny.
And I wouldn't know anything about UK jung, one of my favorite foods. So if the conflict never happened.
Yeah, so
Hey,
something good came out of the
Brian,
conflict
where
for
are
you then, right,
you?
Brian?
Where are you right now, Brian?
Just outside of Philadelphia.
Okay.
We got
So have,
we have a wonderfully huge Korean population here, by the way. Excellent. I
yeah.
really enjoy it. We have supermarkets dedicated just to Korean. So my kid eats a lot of Korean food.
You got to come to LA one day. I'll take you to the best Jang place. Okay.
Oh my God. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'll be so humbled. I'll be a 감사합니다.
정말이에요.
Hey, Simon, so when did you get involved in films? Because I know you did a few before Best of the Best. That was obviously the breakout, you and your brother. But when did you and how did you get involved in the film industry?
Oh boy, 1975. Me and my brother came to Los Angeles to visit my aunt, and I called this taekwondo master, Master Jun Chong, because I knew him. He came up to our studio in San Francisco and taught us a few lessons. So I just called him to pay respect, and he goes, "Simon, I'm making a movie. It's called Bruce Lee Fight Back from the Grave." And it's at Long Beach Junkyard, and I want you and your brother to come and do a fight scene with me. So I said, "Okay, sir." So we went to this junkyard in Long Beach, and we did this fight scene, and we didn't get paid. And I remember that they only fed us like food from McDonald's. But that was our first gig, and we did our fight scene. And then the next year, that movie got released on Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so we saw it on a big movie theater, and we saw our fight scenes, and I was like, "Hey, I want to do this." So that's 1975. In 1976, we moved to Los Angeles. So 76 is when I graduated from high school, and after that, we moved to Los Angeles. And I did not get into a movie industry until 1986. It took me 11 years to get a Screen Actors Guild card, because I didn't know anybody once I moved to Los Angeles.
Okay, like were you trying to go on auditions at that during that interim, or?
I did, but it was all like non-union stuff, and you look at that time there's a trade newspapers. You look at trade newspapers and you send in your pictures and resume, trying to get an audition, and when they call you, it's always a non-union show and things like that. So it wasn't until 1986, 11 years later, I finally got my SAC card.
Oh, nice. I mean, it took a long time, but nice to get the card, which is cool. I want to ask you about a short film. I was actually having dinner last night with Sheldon Lettich, and he directed you and your brother and Frank Dukes and Brian Thompson in a short film called Firefight. And I was talking about you and letting Sheldon know, hey, I'm going to interview Simon Rhee tomorrow. And he said, oh, Frank Dukes knew him. That's how he got in the short film Firefight. So how did you and Frank Dukes run across each other back in the day?
Oh boy. Frank had his own studio in the valley, and I taught in the valley, and I believe mine was in the west end of the valley. His was in east end of the valley. And I heard of him, and he's supposed to be like a great martial artist and all that. And then one day, one of his students came up to me, and he told me that he didn't want me to be close to Frank Dukes. And I said, "Why is that?" And he goes, "Because Frank Dukes is not an honest person." I said, "What do you mean by that?" And he said that Frank Dukes had one of those cheap samurai sword, and he's making an insurance claim saying that it was from like World War II, and like he's getting a lot of money from the insurance company, and that's the type of person he is. And I was like, wow. So after I heard that, I just kept my distance from Frank. I mean, every time I run into him, I'm cordial, we're friends. But, I just keep my distance with, people that's has a little funny background, let's put it that way.
Okay. Oh, so basically after firefight, you heard about the samurai sword and the insurance claim and all that, and then you kind of
Right,
just
right.
kept a little distance.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the classic Best of the Best too. Best of the Best. We'll talk about Best of the Best too also. But
Okay.
Best of the Best, you know what I like so much about that movie? And I even talked to the casting director, James Tarzia, and he was telling me that your brother Philip really wanted to make sure that he surrounded himself, around great actors. You got Eric Roberts in there, Chris Penn, which funny enough was one of Don the Dragon Wilson's actually was Don the Dragon Wilson's best friend back in the day. He's got all
Right.
kinds of fun stories with Chris Penn, but yeah, that's a good actor. And then of course James Earl Jones, I think Sally Kirkland, I think
Yep.
that was the actress. And of course you as the villain, which nobody else could have pulled that off because you guys had to have the most epic fight scene on screen, and no actor would be able to do that, even unless they had so many years of training. But anyway, the casting director was telling me that it was even your brother's idea for James Earl Jones. He was like he's yeah, amazing casting. But the reason I bring that up is because it's much more than a martial arts film. Like ESPN put it as in the top 20 best sports dramas of all time, which I agree with, because you don't even have to be a fan of the martial arts to love that movie. Just like you don't have to be a fan of boxing to like Rocky, or karate to like Karate Kid. It's one of those movies that it's more universal. It's a real
Mm-hmm.
human story. Love it. But what was the inspiration for you guys to create that?
Oh, was it 1975? I was like only 17 or 16 years old. And I competed in this tournament in San Francisco and I won. So then they wanted me to represent United States and go to compete in Korea. They have this thing called Korean Olympics. And all the Koreans that live outside of Korea, they all come to Korea and they compete in this Korean Olympic event. And one of them was Taekwondo. So 1975, I'm still a kid and I'm fighting against someone who won the bronze medal the year before. So I'm up there to fight, and my grandfather comes to the stadium. And my grandfather was a only survivor out of 33 independent fighter, and he was the only one that was still alive. So when he came to the stadium, the president of the World Taekwondo Federation, Mr. Kim Woon-young, he got up and he gave his seat to my grandfather because my grandfather's that type of a hero. So I'm fighting, and this dude throws a really strong roundhouse kick that I couldn't even block and knock the wind out of me. So I go down on my knee, and my coach throws a white towel onto the ring. And since I got my wind knocked out, I didn't want to lose that way. I wanted to fight and lose honorably. But when he threw the white towel, seeing my grandfather just shaking his head, I was like so brokenhearted because I was crying like crazy because I still wanted to fight. And so anyway, so I lose that fight. And then I'm watching rest of the Korean people fight. And this one guy, he won, but he received an axe kick on his face and he cut his face wide, really long open like this. And like he was representing army, I believe. So he goes to the first aid station. They put this big old bandage on his face. And then about 1 hour later, he's got to fight again. So he's got this big old bandage on his face. And right before he fights, he goes to his corner with all the generals are sitting. He salutes and he goes, I will bring back victory for the army, sir. And he goes on to the ring and he fights this other guy. And right before they fight, he just rips this bandages off and he just goes in there to fight. And when I was watching that, I had like goosebumps, and he lost the fight, but the spirit of it, So I came back to United States and I told my brother, I said, Philip, this thing, we got to capture this thing. And I don't know how to capture it, but I had goosebumps watching this fight, And then a few years later, Philip got to compete in the same Korean Olympic representing USA. And even though he's Korean, he felt like, because he's from the United States, he felt some hatred towards from the other Korean fighters. So he felt something there. And then he came back and we were sitting down and talking. And at that time, 1988, 89, there was all this kung fu movies and martial art movies. They were coming into the United States. And it was all a lot of gratuity violence, gratuity sex, drugs. It didn't represent martial arts. And Philip and I wanted to really, really make something that represents true martial arts. So that's how the best of the best story kind of came about. So as you notice in our movie, we don't have any sex, we don't have any drugs, we don't have any gratuity violence, maybe a little bit in a bar fight scene.
Sure.
But yeah, that's how best of the best was made. And then the coolest part is at the end, you remember when I gave my medals to my brother?
Yeah. Boy, that's a tearjerker moment.
Yeah. And I'm supposed to deliver my line in Korean. And Sally Kirkman was supposed to translate that. But that day, Sally Kirkman wasn't feeling well. So my brother came up to me and he goes, Simon, you have to do this in broken English because Sally's not feeling well. And like, here I am, I've been practicing everything in Korean and all of a sudden I got to change to broken English. I was like, okay. So I did it in broken English and I was really crying because it really got to me, And then about after third or fourth take, my tears were getting dried up and I couldn't cry anymore. And then my brother came to me and he hugged me and he just said, Simon, I love you, brother. I know you could do this. And that just gave me like more energy. I was just crying, and I was able to pull this scene off and it worked,
Yeah, one of the most powerful moments in martial arts movie history. I mean, like when you the thing like I like most about movies, they call them motion pictures, but they're really emotion pictures. Like you have to feel something, like like a bad movie, you don't feel anything. At best, maybe you get a little entertainment, but you don't feel anything. But when you actually feel something, like, oh, this is such a human moment. Like we could all feel that, man. Like I love that movie, and like. Your brother at the end of that, like, because you in the film, you killed his brother in the tournament, like when you guys were younger. He could have done that to you, and he almost did, but like he didn't, and as a result, they even lost the tournament. But then, you giving him the medal at the end, that's some powerful stuff, man. Yeah.
And I love my brother for that because he came up with that idea, and it was amazing how it worked. And Even though we shot that movie, 30, 40 years ago, I mean, I still get emails from fans and saying, you're the reason why, I started taking Taekwondo and things like that. So it's very gratifying.
Oh, for sure, for sure. How
Oh,
long did it take?
I got a funny story to tell you.
Oh yeah, please.
So I just finished working on SEAL Team,
Okay.
right? And the lead actor is David Boreanaz. Do you know who that is, David?
That's the dude from
Angel,
yeah, he was in
Bones.
so many of those shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Angel.
So he's the lead actor, and he's directing this episode that I'm working on. Okay. So I get on the set, and he sees me. He goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Simon Rhee. I want you guys to all know I was a PA in Best of the Best 2.
Oh, really?
Can you believe that? And Chris Penn wanted a breakfast with some bacon in it. And this is David Boreanaz's story. And we were shooting somewhere near Las Vegas. And he had to go to Las Vegas to pick up this breakfast for Chris Penn.
Mm-hmm.
And then he brought it back. But it took like 1 hour to get there and 1 hour to come back. So it was like breakfast came back cold. And Chris Penn got mad at him. He was like, "This is cold. I can't eat this." And he threw the breakfast back at David Boreanaz. And David picked it up and, "What do you want me to do with it?" And he threw it back at Chris Penn. And then David Boreanaz goes, "Oh shit, I'm gonna get fired." And then he said, "Oh, but Philip and Simon didn't fire me, so now here I am. I'm a big director, and I come a long way since then." So it was good to catching up with David Boreanaz.
Yeah, that's funny, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of Best of the Best too, like whose idea was that? Because that was a really fun, entertaining movie. I mean, it didn't quite have the emotional impact, but I don't think, very few movies would have the emotional impact of the original Best of the Best. But it was a fun, entertaining, great story. Like whose idea was that with the underground fighting and all that?
So that was also my brother's idea. Like after Best of the Best was finished, they really liked the film, and they wanted to make another one. So they said, "Hey, go make another one." So Philip came up with this underground fight idea, and a funny story in Best of the Best 2 is I only had like one line in the whole movie, and it's like when I'm in a nightclub, this guy with a big old cowboy hat goes, "Hey boy, where you from?" And my line was Houston.
Yeah.
So then Eric Roberts comes to me and goes, "Simon, how are you going to do this? You only have one line. How are you going to deliver this?" I said, "Houston, isn't it?" And Eric goes, "Do me a favor and just chop this line up." I said, "Why do you want me to do that?" He goes, "Simon, I trust you when you teach me Taekwondo. Trust me when I teach you acting. Just chop it up and make it stupid and ugly as possible." I said, "Okay, Eric, I'm going to trust you." So the man comes up to me and goes, "Hey, boy, where you from?" And I go, "Houston." And he starts laughing, "Houston." Many years go by, people come up to me, "Oh, Simon, Best of the Best 2, Houston." So now I got it like many years later. I was like, people remember those little things.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
So those are the things that I learned from Eric Roberts.
How was he as a student, by the way? You said you taught him Taekwondo.
Awesome. He would not, like, we were teaching him how to use the staff, and his hand would be all blistered from training so much, but he would not stop, and he would continue training and stuff. So that's the part I really, really liked about him. And very, very dedicated, great actor. And I loved working with him. And I ran into him about a year ago, and it was just good to see him again.
Oh, for sure. And you've trained so many actors and celebrities. Who would you say like surprised you the most of not only being dedicated, but like super talented of like, wow, this guy just, man, he could have been a champion if he wanted to go that direction.
Have you seen Cobra Kai?
Not all of it, but I need to finish it. I've seen the first couple seasons, though. Yeah.
I taught all the Cobra Kai actors, like
Oh,
uh, Jacob, Zolo, Mary, so I taught like four major kids in Cobra Kai, and then I taught Martin Cove, and
okay.
and then who's the lead actor? Uh, Zapka, William Zapka.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I taught all those people before. So like first season started it, and then before second season started it, I start training them so that they'd be ready when the season started it. And then the same thing with the third season. Before the third season started, I also taught them like 2-3 weeks before. And uh, out of those kids, there's a kid named Jacob who was like really talented. I thought he could really make it. And Zola was also really good too. Those two young actors, and they were fun to train with because they are constantly, because they're good friends and they had such a good chemistry with each other.
Oh, nice.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Did if I say it right, Cook Sulwan,
Kuxilwan, yeah.
Cook Sulwan, did you ever train in that? Is that a real style, or is that like I've heard so many different?
To me, Kuxilwan is like a kind of like a Hapkido. Has a
Okay,
lot of Hapkido moves in it. And then I have one story with the Grandmaster Saw, I believe his name, in San Francisco. And I sprained my finger, and I went to him, and I just told him, "Yeah, I kind of sprained this finger, sir." And he just kind of like touched it, and like boom, he popped it, and he fixed it. So, and he was telling me, "Yeah, when we do this, we don't only teach people how to hurt people, we also know how to fix people." So I was like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of interesting concept,
ah,
And but that's all I know. I mean, they're very colorful uniform, black and gold, and a lot of
yeah,
Hapkido throws. So it's
yeah. See, I had heard different stuff that it was more kung fu like, and
yeah,
I've seen a little bit.
yeah. I think it's a combination of kung fu and Hapkido mixed together,
Ah, okay.
in my opinion. Yeah.
Hmm. Oh, here's a cool comment, by the way. Parshadam Lal says, the Rhee brothers are fantastic martial artists, have got all of their films, inspirational gentlemen. May they continue to inspire us for a long time. You guys
Oh,
definitely will through those films.
thank you.
Speaking of films, here goes one I believe you shot relatively soon after Best of the Best, Showdown in Little Tokyo. Did you work, did you train and know Brandon Lee much or back in the day or?
No, I did not. So like right after I was done with Best of the Best, I had to audition for a part where I cut, I make a mistake. So in Japanese Yakuza style, you know how you cut off your pinky?
Oh, yeah,
And
sure.
yeah, so I got the part as so now I'm cutting my pinky off, and I give my pinky to my boss, who's Kerry Tagawa. And then in in normal Japanese Yakuza style, you're supposed to forgive if you give your pinky to your boss, but he's so mad he stabs me, you know. So I remember getting the part and working with Kerry Tagawa, and there's a guy named Jeff Imada. I don't know if you know him, David. He's a very pioneer in stunt world, especially Asian person. Like when I was getting stabbed, I didn't have any pads to block the knife that was coming to my skin. So I really appreciate Jeff Imada. Simon, you're gonna need some pads. And he put this little tiny pads on my chest. So every time I was getting stabbed, even though it was a retractable knife, it was still made out of aluminum. It was still
Sure.
hurting me. So yeah, I remember him giving me that pad to save my skin. So yeah, that's my memory of working on Showdown in Little Tokyo. And
Okay.
my good friend James Liu, I don't know, do you know James Liu?
Of course I know of him, but I do
Yeah,
not know him.
he had to do a fight scene in a bathhouse with like just a little diaper type of stuff on,
Yeah, I
and
remember that.
I think it was either Adolph or Brandon who did it a ground spinning sweeping kick, and he had to land on his back on a spa wooden floor without any pads.
Oh,
So yeah, he paid his dues on that movie.
Yeah, for sure. You had it much better with that retractable knife than what he had to do.
Yeah,
Man. Oh, speaking of like stunt work, you doubled Jackie Chan, didn't you?
I did.
Was that in the Rush Hour 2 or a different movie?
Rush Hour 3.
Rush Hour 3, okay.
Yeah, and he has his a stunt double, and strangely, his stunt double is also Korean
Oh,
because
okay.
he looks so much like Jackie, and he trains with Jackie's stunt team. But in Rush Hour 3, he had to jump out of a van, moving van, and he rolled his ankle.
Ooh.
So the rest of the movie, um, Eddie Braun and Conrad Parmesano was our stunt coordinator. They called me up and said, Simon, from now, I want you to double Jackie Chan. And I was like, holy moly, I was so intimidated, because I respected him, and I worked with him on Rush Hour 2, and we won this Best Fight Stunt Awards. And so, I met Jackie, and now I get to double him on number 3. And I was like so nervous, but he was so nice to me and gracious that, we became like good friends. On the last day of a shoot, we are recreating Jackie and Hiroyuki falling off an Eiffel Tower.
Mm-hmm.
So me and this other guy, we're standing up facing each other, like we're facing each other like this, okay? And then they wrap a line around us 3 times. And with the crane, they lift us up. They lift us up this way, 60 feet up, 60 feet up in the air. And
Wow.
then on action, I pulled a quick release, and we're supposed to fall down, start unraveling. And then at the end, we're supposed to open up. Can you see my fingers? Open up like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, on that take, we didn't separate. And I
Mm.
was on the bottom, that guy's on the top, and the line went like that. So the line, if it was a little bit higher, it would have broken my ribs. But it
Ooh.
was right below my ribs. So like it came in so deep, like my part of my internal organs got shifted a little bit.
Oof.
So needless to say, I had to go to an emergency.
Wow.
And before I went, I took like 3 or 4 Advils. So I was okay with the pain. So then the doctor comes in and he goes, I heard what happened. We took the, what is it, CAT scan and all that, and your internal organs got shifted a little bit. So if you're in a lot of pain, I could give you some morphine if you want. And I said, you know what, doctor, I've never taken morphine and I don't want to take it now. I'm going to see if I could, just stand the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a patient next to me. He goes, damn, if he doesn't want to give it to me. Yeah, so that's what I remember about Rush Hour 3. But it was such a cool experience that I get to double Jackie. And another thing was like, how Jackie has his Hong Kong stunt team, and the
Mm-hmm.
Americans got their own, way of shooting things. So there was a scene where I had to jump from this high building to a tree and come all the way down to the ground. So all the American stunt coordinators on the top floor, and I asked like, how do you want me to come down? And then the American coordinators, you're in a rush, just go down as fast as you can. But Hong Kong team in the bottom, who was lowering me with the line, I want you to come down like, how Jackie would do it, like real cool. So I said, okay. So action. And on the top, when the American stunt coordinators could see me, I'm coming down as fast as you can. And then when I got to the middle, now the American stunt coordinators cannot see me. Now the Hong Kong stunt guys can see me. Then I had to come down like Jackie, real cool to make everything work and make everybody happy. Yeah, I remember a couple of scenes like that.
Oh, that's funny. Question about like your internal organ shifting. Do they just shift back over time, or do they have to do some?
Yeah, it took me about 2 weeks.
Oh, they just automatically your body will
Yeah,
shift them
it
back.
just slowly came back. But when somebody came in and just tapped me, I would drop to the floor.
Wow.
Real,
Wow.
yeah.
What would you
Wow.
say the most dangerous stunt you ever did was? Was that it, or was there something more dangerous you did?
I would say that was probably the most dangerous one because you're dealing with 60 feet height.
Yeah, yeah.
Second one, uh, when I was working on Universal Soldiers with Jean Claude and Dolph
Oh,
Lundgren,
okay.
we had to
Mhm.
jump out of a helicopter, moving helicopter, and it was about 75 feet up in the air, and we all had to jump into Hoover Dam. So it was water that we're jumping into. And because helicopter's moving, that you don't just fall straight down. You kind of go angle when you
Mm.
jump because helicopter's moving. So first time when I fell, I remember hitting like my butt and my back,
Mm.
and I had like so many bruises on there from
Ooh.
falling like that. And of course, I was directed in like the way we fell. Okay, go back, do it again.
Do it again. You're like, oh, great.
So we had to go back up. This time they lowered the helicopter to about 40 feet. So
Mm.
then at that time we were able to just go straight in. So that was, but yeah, that was that time. And then that's when I met Jean Claude, and we did some sparring together. And
Oh, how did that go?
oh, it was really good. Jean Claude was good. So we had really fun sparring together, training together. And then he asked me to start teaching his kids. So I started teaching Bianca and
Mm.
Christian, two of his kids at my school for a while. It was a good
Oh,
experience.
yeah.
Yeah.
So did you train his kids for years, or?
I would say about 6 months they would take private lessons. And
Okay.
about 6 months, and then I think they got busy. And so then, yeah, I didn't see them anymore after that. But
Okay.
about 3, 4 years ago, I ran into Gladys in Woodland Hill somewhere.
Sure.
Yeah, it was good to see her.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you must have really impressed Van Damme because if he wanted you to train his kids, though, that's really cool. For sure. How hard were these sparring matches against Van Damme, by the way? Were they just like tapping, or did you guys go
Well,
pretty
well,
intense?
when we're working, you cannot put any scars on the face or
Oh,
bruises on
sure.
the face. So we went like, body contact, but we didn't make contact to the face. And I wanted to make sure that we didn't break anything. So
Hmm.
it was pretty controlled, pretty light sparring. But you could tell when you're sparring with each other, and if they know how to control, they're good.
Oh,
So
for sure.
he was good.
Did
I
you
have a
spar
real
Dolph Lundgren at all?
Say that again.
Did you spar Dolph Lundgren at all?
I did not. Dolph also trained at Juncheong Taekwondo where I used to teach, and but I didn't get a chance to spar with Dolph. He 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 wasn't like we had this big old semi truck that was made out of a gym. They made a gym out of it.
Hmm.
The whole back. They had all this weightlifting machine, and they had some little spaces, and then like hotel had a little workout places. So that's where I would meet Jean Claude and we'd do sparring and stuff. But Dolph would never come to where we would spar and stuff. He would always go to the gym and do weightlifting and
Oh,
things like
wait,
that.
sure.
Yeah.
mm. Real quick question. How famous are you in Korea?
None.
Really?
Nobody would really. Okay, I was
No, no,
curious.
no. This is a cool story. I did a fire burn on Letters from Iwo Jima or Flags of Our Fathers, one of those movies with Clint Eastwood movie. And I set my whole body on fire. And I won a Best Fire Stunt Award that year for that.
Mm.
And then somehow they show that program in Korea. And so one of the stuntmen from Korea saw that and he came to Los Angeles and he didn't speak a word of English.
Mm.
He lands in LAX. He
Mhm.
finds Korean taxi driver and he asked this taxi driver to find me. So this taxi driver opened the Korean Yellow Pages and found my Taekwondo school, and he called me. So I answered the phone, and he goes, "Oh, I have this guy named Alex here at LAX. He wants to come and meet you." And I'm going, "I don't know anybody named Alex from Korea." He goes, "Well, he's a stuntman. He wants to meet you." I said, okay, well, I'm in Woodland Hills. I'm at my studio. You could bring him here. So, he came to my studio and he told me he saw me on Korean television and he wants to train with me. And I said, look, you're already established Korean stunt person. You already must know Taekwondo. I mean, what can I teach you? And he goes, I don't care. I just want to be, your student. So he stayed at the he rented a room and he stayed with me for about 3 months studying Taekwondo for me. And at that time, I was coordinating that TV show Heroes.
Okay.
So I would take him with me, and like one day it was such an easy job. Like this is like more than 10 years ago, so I think I was getting paid like maybe $1,000 a day to be a stunt coordinator, and Ernie Hudson was like getting zapped, and he goes down on his knees. So all I had to do was bring a pad so that when Ernie goes down on his knees, that he's got something soft to fall onto. So I did that, and this Korean stuntman came with me. So I provide a pad. Ernie Hudson goes down, and then cut. Okay, we got it, and then I was done for the day. So it's one of those really really easy days. And then Alex turned around and goes, "You mean to tell me you come here, put a little pad under Ernie Hudson, and you get paid like $1,000?" I said, "Well, that's my job for today. I mean, it's not always like that, you know." He goes,
You're building
"Wow,
the American dream myth. They're like, over there, they just put one pad and get paid $1,000.
yeah." That was one of. I mean, believe me, there's a lot more harder days, but that was one of those real easy days. Yeah.
That's funny. Hey, Brian, can you put down the comment just before this one? The Jesse
Did Lauren
Swarbrick one?
Avedon train me? Lauren Avedon was.
Oh, we'll go to that one in a second. 1 second, Simon. I wanted to go to this one first. How was your experience working with Chuck Norris on Walker, Texas Ranger?
Oh, that's interesting.
I love Mr. Norris. And his son, Eric Norris, is a real good friend of mine. And Eric is one of my other guy that jumped out of a helicopter with me in Universal Soldiers.
That's funny.
Anyway, so my instructor, Master Jun Chong, purchased Chuck Norris's studio on Wilshire Boulevard. So 1975, 1976, whenever I would come and visit Master Jun Chong, sometimes Chuck Norris would come in and we used to spar together. So I would spar with Chuck Norris, Bill Wallace, Joe Louis. All the best fighters would come there and we used to all spar together. And then Chuck Norris became like Walker, Texas Ranger. So, it's like really popular now. So one day I got to be in Walker, Texas Ranger. So I got to Texas and Mr. Norris was shooting. And as soon as they cut, he came running to me. He goes, "Simon, so good to see you." And he didn't have to do that. I'm the one who should be going to him, And Mr. Norris was just so humble and just so down to earth. I loved working with him, doing a fight scene with him and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so cool. Oh, and then this one, didn't Lauren Avedon train with you and your brother?
Yes, Lauren Avedon was my student. And this is a true story. Lauren Avedon was, when he got his black belt, he was taking care of our Master Jun Chong Studios office. And one day he's got a phone call, and I think I forgot which movie it was. It was one of the.
I think it was No Retreat, No Surrender 2, wasn't it?
Is that that one?
I believe so.
Okay, maybe it's that one. So he's the one who answered the phone, and they were looking for an American black belt. So Lauren goes, "Oh, okay, I'll send somebody over there for you." And he went, and he ended up getting the part. So that's how he became into the movie business. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a really, really great martial artist. He showcased a lot of those skills in No Retreat, No Surrender 2 against Matthias Hughes. Matthias had shared that story. So, another. I think Lorenzo Lamas went to your studio to train too, right?
Mm-hmm. Lorenzo was also my student, and one thing I don't know if you said, what is that movie? There's a movie I did with Lorenzo. Him and I have a really, really cool fight scene. You got to
Like
find that.
outside of a big house, right?
Yeah, inside the big house.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the name of the movie.
Oh, we lost your audio.
Simon, we can't hear the audio.
And
Oh, you're back. Okay.
and I was on this magazine cover, martial art magazine cover, and he purposely used that magazine cover, and while they were filming him, so that I could get a little, you know, airtime on the TV. So that was really cool of Lorenzo for doing that.
Oh, are you talking about Renegade?
No, I don't think, maybe, was that running? I think it was Falcon's Crest.
Oh, Falcon's Crest. Oh, really? Falcon's
Yeah.
Crest. That's funny. Yeah, that was his other big show before Renegade. Really cool. You know what's interesting? Because I don't know if you know who Jeff Langton is. He's been in a bunch of films, Sonny from Lionheart. Anyway, when I interviewed him, because he's worked with and knows so many great martial artists. I mean, obviously he didn't work with them all, but he worked with a lot of them, and I just got his opinion. I said, oh, who do you think, like, of all the guys you work with, the best martial artist is? And he said Lorenzo Lamas. And of course, Lorenzo Lamas, I know him from Renegade. I've seen a bunch of his movies. He's good, but I never like thought of him of like, is he like the best? So it's funny that he's one of your students, because it's like, oh, I was like, Jeff, I got to interview Lorenzo and get his martial arts background and history, and he was talking about training with you back in the day, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So he was like really into it. Must have been a great student.
I think to me right now, Scott Adkins is probably one of the best, in my opinion.
Oh, he's evolved it. He really kind of brought the whole tricking thing, tying in the gymnastics and everything into the movie. So he kind of evolved it to that next level, popularized that.
Yeah.
Have you worked with him at all?
No, not yet. I would love to work with him one day. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah, he killed it in John Wick 4.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great for him.
And like, Chad Stahelski, who's, directing all the John Wick movies now. I've worked with Chad on Steven Seagal's movie called Glimmerman.
Oh, you worked. Oh, I didn't know Chad and you worked on Glimmerman.
Yeah. And this is an honest, true story. All the stuntmen were lined up. There was about 10 of us all lined up. And Steven Seagal would come. And he would go one by one to each stunt guy. And our stunt coordinator warned us, make sure everyone wear a cup, because he would kick you. And he came up to this guy named Ray Sua. And Ray Sua was a cop, but he was also a martial artist. And I've seen him in tournament many times, and I respected him. And he came up to him and he's talking to the stunt coordinator. He goes, what should I do with this guy? Can I just bitch slap him? And he just slapped Ray Sue on the face.
Wow.
And Ray took it. And I was so upset. So like when he came to me, I wasn't going to take anything that Steven Seagal does. And if he did anything, I was going to throw a spinning heel kick and try to knock him out. I mean, I don't need the job that bad.
Sure.
So, I have my pride. So I'm standing there, and he finally came to me, and he's asking the stunt coordinator, so what do I do with this guy? So the stunt coordinator goes, no, you don't have any scene with Simon. Simon is fighting Keenan Ivory weigh-ins. So you don't have any scene with him. So then he goes, you sure there's nothing I could do with him? And then he walked away. So we didn't have any, contact. But if he tried to do anything with me, I was gonna just throw a kick. But luckily it didn't happen.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you do hear stories about Seagal and stuntmen, like even Stephen Lambert shared something. So that's interesting. Okay, so it's like it almost reminds me of like the prison warden, and you got all the prisoners lined up, and the warden could do whatever the hell he wants, right? Because he's got that power. over the prisoners, and sometimes people abuse power. So, but it sounds like Steven was just looking at each guy, and instead of just like waiting to do the film scene, he was already acting it out like for something he'd do later. But yeah, that doesn't seem really cool to do, of
Yeah,
course.
I mean that's not necessary with the stunt people. We're there to make him look good anyways.
Yeah, you're not
And
punching
and
bags.
and I don't think people know about this. Like in one of the scene, Steven Seagal is doing one of his Aikido technique to Chad, and he dislocated Chad's shoulder.
Oh, really?
He cranked it, so Chad had to go to a hospital and get a surgery. So
Wow.
yeah, so he couldn't work on that movie anymore.
And look where Chad's at now, I mean, he's like
Exactly.
top action director.
Yep.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad Chad is doing well. And also, do you know who David Leitch is?
Oh yeah, he's like Chad's right hand man in a way, right? They
Well,
kind
yeah,
of.
they were partners before, and David Leitch did the Bullet Train, and he did like Deadpool. He's directing now. This
Oh,
guy's all
huge.
directing,
Yeah.
great movies. But like, I hired David Leitch to double Treat Williams
Oh,
in
really?
Substitute 4, and we shot that in Atlanta. And yeah, and David was just a stuntman back a long time ago. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, I'm glad to see everyone doing so well.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I didn't even know they made a substitute for. I remember the first one went to the theater. I forget if the second one did, but then I think I heard about the third one. But that's crazy that they did a fourth one as well.
Yeah.
Wow, they kept going with that. Yeah. Um, your IMDb, by the way, is ridiculous. Like the huge Hollywood films that you have worked on. What are some of your most? You probably even have one like most memorable experience on one of these big, A-list films.
The one that I remember is Lethal Weapon 4. I had this big old fight scene with Mel Gibson on a freeway. And so the first week, we were doing this fight scene with Mel Gibson's stunt double. And then I'm supposed to get thrown onto the freeway, and then this bus supposed to come and hit me. So first week we did all the fight scene, and right before we did that scene where I'm supposed to, get thrown onto the freeway, our coordinator goes, Simon, we don't want to do that yet because next week Mel Gibson's coming in. You still have to do a fight scene with Mel Gibson, and we don't want to, just in case you get hurt, we don't want to, not have you. So we want to save you. So that made me scared. It's like, man, what do they have in plan for me? Am I really going to hit the bus or something? So like, I couldn't even sleep for a few days. And then when Mel Gibson finally came, we did our fight scene Monday through Thursday. And then finally Friday came, and they said, okay, Simon, we're going to do this scene now where you get thrown onto the freeway. And I was so scared, David. And so we do this scene, and then I get tossed onto the freeway, and all these cars are just missing me. And then I finally get up, and then this bus comes and smacks me. And it was done all safely. I mean, I did hurt my shoulder a bit, but I think that's the one movie that, as far as like stunt wise, put me on the map. I think Best of the Best was like more of an acting job for me.
Sure.
So people knew me as an actor at that time. But on Lethal Weapon 4, that's when all the stunt people start giving me some credit. Oh, okay, Simon's, he's a stunt man, so I think that's the one movie that I remember. And of course, then Rush Hour, that was a cool movie too.
Yeah.
Rush Hour 2, we had that good big fight scene in the massage parlor, if you remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, are you going to be are they shooting Rush Hour 4 already, or are they just like still in pre-production? Do you know?
So our stunt coordinator, Conrad Parmigiano, just passed away.
Yeah, I heard about that, unfortunately, in January. Yeah.
Yeah, so we went to his funeral about a month ago, and Brett Ratner was there, and Arthur Sarkeesian. Brett Ratner was the director. Arthur Sarkeesian was the producer. They said they're gonna do Rush Hour 4 in summer. This
Really?
they start prepping it this summer, so we'll see whether that really happens.
Okay, and you're part of that. It sounds like.
I mean, I did double Jackie, so they remember me, and then like in Rush Hour 2, when we won the Best Fight Stunt Award, I was the one who accepted the award, and I'm the one who did the speech. So yeah, they definitely remember me, and they want me to double Jackie again. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. And didn't you get choked out by Tom Cruise in Collateral? Can you share that story?
So Tom and I, we trained for about a month for that scene, and this British special force guy named Mick, he taught Tom Cruise how to shoot, do all the fight scenes. So when the day finally came, I mean, we rehearsed that scene for months and everything was fine. But the first day when the camera is up and when Michael Mann said action, he put me on a chokehold, and like he was so intense, and he's using me as a human body shield. And so I'm in front of him and we're walking. And then I think I took about 5, 6 steps and I was gone. I was out. He had me so tight. So when I finally woke up, Tom was looking at me and he goes, "Simon, are you acting, or did I really choke you out?" I said, "Tom, you choked me out, man." He goes, "Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry." And we became good friends after that.
Yeah, that's funny, man.
Yeah.
Wow. So I know you do a lot of like stunt coordinating. Obviously, you've done a lot of stunt work yourself. Do you have a preference? I mean, aside from like the bangs and bruises, I'm sure it's a hell of an adrenaline rush, but do you prefer being the actual stunt guy, or you actually prefer like just kind of coordinating everything?
So now, I'm 66 and I have enough knowledge to coordinate. I don't want like young stunt people to think that they could coordinate right away just because you know some people. I mean, you really, really have to know your craft to become a coordinator. And I do enjoy being a stunt coordinator more now than anything else. I don't want to direct. It's just too much responsibility and too much headache, and you get too many questions from the cast and crew. So I don't want that responsibility. I don't need the money, but I love being creative with stunt coordinating. Like one of the funny thing that I would share with you is I was coordinating this TV show called American Horror Stories.
Great
Oh,
show.
wow, really?
Yeah.
Great show.
And one of the scene is like it's back in 1700s and the whole town has smallpox. And you know how the American Horror Story is. It's very gross.
Yeah.
And to be cured, you have to go to this lady and suck her boil.
Hmm.
You suck that and you drink that, and you're supposed to be cured and you won't catch smallpox. So that was the storyline. And I'm going, oh my God, how are they going to shoot this thing? So I asked a special effects makeup person, I said, how are we going to do this? And he goes, oh, easy. We're just going to get some baby formula in a jar and we'll put it underneath the skin, and we'll pop the skin, which is made out of rubber, and then actor could eat it and it'll be completely safe. So once you know the secrets of those kind of things, it's like, oh, okay, it's not that big of a deal. But man, when I was reading the script, I was getting like sick. I'm like,
they really pushed the limits on that.
Now, I do think there's some historical context. Now, I know originally the milkmaids didn't get smallpox because they would catch cowpox, which was
you
so
saw
cool.
that episode, huh, Brian?
What's that?
You saw that episode.
No, I actually work in the medical field, so it's like I didn't see it.
The episode is called Milkmaid.
Yeah, the milkmaids. So the milkmaids would get so this is actual true medical history. They would get a cowpox, and the cowpox were so close to smallpox, it would give them an immunity. But I do believe later in the many a century or so later, they a man wiped a doctor, if you would want to call him that, had an infant, his infant son, he wiped smallpox to show that it would create an immunity if given in small amount or something like that. Forget what he did. He did something with it, and then that showed that the child could get immunity. But I mean, it is a gruesome history with the whole smallpox thing.
Yeah. You should watch that episode. It's the second season, American Horror Stories.
I want to watch that one. Yeah, I'll be
it's
in.
called Milkmaid.
Yeah, I'll have to. Now I'll be thinking about that. It's interesting. Well, you got an incredible history. I mean, God, and such a humble guy too. You can tell you're a very humble person.
I mean, 30 somewhat years of doing this, you know, you learn a lot. And I think I paid my dues, you know. I hit the ground, and it's kind of funny because when Best of the Best one came about, my brother made me a stunt coordinator. I should not have been a stunt coordinator. I didn't know anything about stunts. I knew about fights. Maybe I could have been a fight coordinator, but not a stunt coordinator, you know?
Do you do that at all? Do you do stunt fight choreography?
Yeah, I do now. I do, you know, a lot of fight.
Let me ask you a real quick question, because this has always bothered me forever. Being somebody who's, I studied Jeet Kune Do, always in, you know, Bruce.
He froze up.
What's that?
You froze up.
Oh, do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Bruce Lee comes in, and like every one of our episodes, he pops up as a question. But to me, as you being a stunt, I have never a fight choreographer. I mean, I've never seen a Bruce Lee movie that reflected the true concept of Jeet Kune Do or his movements. You know, Bruce Lee was doing so many things, boxing feints, and you know the way he moved. Like nobody captured that. They do it in such the rudimentary sense, like it's that just slip the punch, hit move a little bit. Maybe they do a pock and a a back fist, pock to lop, I think they call it. But nobody ever captures the pure essence of what he really was doing. And I'd love to see somebody be able to do that. That would just be amazing. Even if the acting was a little bit crummy, but if they got the fight in that essence of who he was and what he was portraying through his art.
Okay, so you know who the director Ang Lee is, right?
Okay.
Ang Lee's making a movie about Bruce Lee, and his son is going to play Bruce Lee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to see if I'm the biggest. I'm the real difficult guy to please on that one, but I'll be excited to see if it reflects the Jeet Kune Do concept.
Let's see what our director Ang Lee does. I'm curious too.
Yeah, it should be exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, just so you know.
Okay, is that's your breakfast? That's your lunch?
I can't eat it too much salt, but I love it. The Shin Ramen, #1 ramen in Korea. It's not a commercial, everyone.
Yeah, he cooks that for me when I'm out there. It's good stuff, man.
So, Jacob, where is your fight happening?
Atlantic City.
Oh, Atlantic City.
At the Showboat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, next Saturday.
Will it be aired or anything, or will it be streamed? Could we see it?
You know, I talked to the Damon Feldman runs Celebrity Boxing and his top guy Mark. You know, he was in talks with Fight TV, which is I think them and Triller are the same to stream it live. But you know what it might be is that they'll just put it out after the fact. Now, obviously, everybody there can see everything live, but they might just polish the production and put it out. I don't know, like maybe like a week later, because it's a big spectacle thing, you know, like with live music and all this craziness, and obviously there's all these boxing fights. So I was hoping it would be live. I'm not sure if it will. They still may do that last minute, but I know they were last time I was talking to him, actually last night, it was thinking they're just gonna polish the whole production, then just put it out there after everything's like all clean and nice, right? Because it's more of like a prospect event. And if I win this one on March 9th, which I'm extremely confident, I'm getting something really big set up after that, you know, because Damon really believes in me to kind of build me up in a way. Because I got these movies coming out after that, so it's all kind of like, it'll be he believes in me, so I'm happy, to kind of push me a little bit, right?
Cool. That's great. I would love to see that.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I'll definitely let you know how you can see it. Oh, one thing I wanted to ask you, because of course you're heavily involved in the film world and working on the big Hollywood films and all that. And then I know your brother, he did 4 best of the best films, and he had another movie come out, I think in like 2016 or something,
Is
right?
that
Was
martial art? Is that Underdog Kids?
the Underdog Kid, yeah. Now, the thing that I wanted to ask, because this is kind of circling back when Brian asked if you were popular or famous in Korea, you said not at all. And, when Best of the Best came out, of course, Korean cinema and even the economy, it wasn't anything like it is today. It's so cool what South Korea has become, like an economic powerhouse with their the music, the electronics, the skincare products, and even the films. So I was curious if your brother, because it's always been like a thing in Hollywood. It's very hard for like an Asian guy to be like the lead in these big movies. I mean, Jackie Chan and Jet Li did pretty good, but for the most part, I think a lot of Asians got the shaft as far as like having an opportunity to be the lead. Unfortunately, I think things are definitely changing. But the reason I bring this up is because like in the early 2000s, it seemed like Korea's cinema was really starting to take off. So did your brother ever try to be like a superstar out there?
No, he did not. He wanted to stay in the States and make it here. And he did so well in all the best of the best movies. And then what? He got real close to the Robin Shu. You know him? He did Mortal
Oh
Kombat.
yeah, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. So they wanted Philip to be the character
Liu
that
Kang.
Robin Shu ended up
Yeah, the
playing.
Liu Kang character.
Yeah. But then like Philip was at I forgot the guy's name, the producer's office for a meeting. And then this is what Philip told me. And then the producers was in another meeting, and then the meeting went like much longer. And Philip was waiting for a long time. And then Philip he had another meeting that he had to go to after meeting this producer. So somehow the timing didn't work out. So Philip was waiting to meet the producer, but then his meeting went longer, and then Philip had another meeting. So I think Philip waited for him for like hour and a half, and then he left. And then when the uh, Mortal Kombat producer finished his meeting, and when he came out, and Philip was gone, so the things didn't work out. But that could have been Philip in the Mortal Kombat. You know,
That would have been
yeah.
huge.
Right now, Philip is he has the best of the best 5 script, and it's
Really?
ready to go. And there's a couple of companies that wants to do it. So Philip is still negotiating. He wants to make sure that he has a total control of the movie, because sometimes other people try to take that control away from Philip.
Sure.
So he's working on that. And my brother has this other, what do you call it? He's got this international urban legends, and he's got this stories from Japan, Brazil, China, Thailand, all these urban legends and it's cool horror genre that he wants to create as a TV series. So
Oh, okay.
we're working on that with this guy named Jim Corey, who used to be a vice president of Marvel TV, and then Stuart Beatty, who used to be my student. He's the one who wrote like Pirates of Caribbean. He's the one who wrote Collateral, and he's the one who wrote 310 to Yuma. He's a big time writer. So we are all together as a team right now trying to get this thing happening.
It's a horror series, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, my interest. Like
Horror
any
genre.
particular, or is it just going to be a broad spectrum of like, could be anything from zombies, werewolves, some guy, telltale heart type stuff?
Yeah, so what my brother has is he purchased the rights to this urban legends. So Thailand has their stories. Japan has like, what is it, Ringu?
The
Like
Ring.
Japan,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Japan has that kind of a story. Korea has their own type of urban legend stories. So it's all these different types of urban legend horror stories that he purchased. He bought
Oh,
the
that's
rights
cool.
to it. So he wants to make that into a TV series. So we'll see how
For
that goes.
America or for in Asia?
For America.
That could be
Wow.
huge. It could be like American
Yeah.
Horror Story because every season's completely different. Going through like they had like the slasher '80s film season, and they had all kinds of cool stuff. But hey, we gotta go back to best of the best five here real quick now.
Yeah.
if you can share anything. So of course, part one was a U.S. versus Korean team. Part two, we had the underground fights. Part three kind of dealt with small town racism. Part four was just a ridiculously cool action film. I mean, they literally had a semi truck explode in a tunnel, and he's like on a motorcycle and stuff. Which when I watched it, I'm like, how'd they shoot that? That's very looks amazing, So, can you say anything about part five, like the direction that's going in?
I'm not supposed to say too much of Best of the Best Five, but what he wants to introduce in a tournament scene is 2 versus 2 instead of 1 against 1. It'll be 2 versus 2. So that was what Philip was thinking. So last time I read the script, it was 2 versus 2. He might have, that's why he wants to keep the control of the this Best of the Best Five script, because I think
Sure.
some other company that wants to do it, they might want to like tweak that, and Philip doesn't want this thing to be tweaked. So we'll see what happens. But all I can say is like so far, Philip's idea was 2 versus 2 instead of 1 against 1.
Okay. So that's really cool, man. Best of the Best Five will be huge, just the name alone. And then the urban horror stories, that's big stuff. Now, a lot of people that watch the channel, like, of course, they're interested in the films and the movie industry. And we got aspiring actors and stuntmen and all kinds of guys and girls watching the channel. Like, and you've been in the industry for a long time, very successful. What would be your best advice for somebody who wants to break into the film industry into Hollywood?
First thing, never lie. Don't exaggerate your ability, because you as soon as people, if you're trying to get into a stunt world, because there was this girl that came into the stunt world saying that she was a taekwondo champion and all this and all that, and she said that in front of this guy named J.J. Perry, and J.J. Perry is a real taekwondo champion. So he asked her, "Oh, really? When did you compete?" And so she starts saying, "Oh, I competed at this time." And JJ goes, "That's funny because I was there. I didn't see you." And then she got embarrassed and she ran out of the audition. And
Gotta
Wow.
love stolen valor, man. It's not
yeah,
only military, it's martial arts, it's epidemic.
yeah.
And
So
sometimes
don't.
they do both. They'll be like, I was special forces and world champion. You're like, well, what world champion? Well, it
Mhm.
was a while ago, a big world champion. Then by the time you're done, it
It,
was some underground stuff.
Yeah. So don't ever
it's
lie.
a lot harder for people to get away with that now because of the internet. People could look into stuff, but yeah.
Right. And then
Absolutely.
if you want to break into the stunt world, always make a 1 minute video demo reel of yourself, what you can
Mm-hmm.
do. So I made, like, about 10 years ago, I made a 1 minute video for my son. And my son does taekwondo, he does skateboarding, he does gymnastics, and all this stuff. So put your best stuff, and just don't make it longer than 1 minute, because stunt coordinators don't have a lot of time to watch all these videos. 1 minute is perfect. So make 1 minute video, put it up on a Vimeo or YouTube, so that when you meet a stunt coordinator or you want to introduce yourself, you know, attach your demo reel with them, so that we could see what you could do, what you look like, and those kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. That'll help you get in the business.
Oh, for sure. You're president of like a stunt organization, aren't you?
I was International Stunt Association. It's the group that
Okay.
I'm still with. I've been with them since 2000. Yeah, year 2000, and we have about 40 members, and we take care of every aspect of stunts you could think of: water, fire, like parachuting, rigging, just driving, motorcycle. We have every department covered. you know so yeah, it's a fun group that I'm with, and these are a bunch of special guys, and they're like all my brothers.
Mm, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, man, there's so many so many great stories that you shared with us today, Simon. This was a real pleasure and an honor. I grew up watching, Best of the Best. It was a handful of movies, and Best of the Best was one of them. I give Jeff Speakman a lot of credit because I think Perfect Weapon was one of the best ones. Of course, Bloodsport with Van Damme, but Best of the Best, definitely in like there's a lot of martial art movies back in the day, but there's like a small collection of like ones that you could just watch over and over and over, and Best of the Best and Best of the Best too as well. Were part of that group. So I mean, I've seen those movies so much, and it's such an honor to talk to you here today.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Brian. It's a pleasure talking to you guys today.
Oh, 감사합니다.
And David, text me the address of your place in Woodlands. I want to come and see you when you train, okay?
Definitely, man.
Cool.
Don and I will be out there, and I got to see you before I leave. It'll be so cool.
Sounds great. Love to have a lunch with you.
Definitely. Thanks, Simon.
Okay.
Yeah, 안녕히
Thanks for
계세요.
tuning in, guys. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Brian. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Yeah.